All right, ladies and gentlemen, a formal welcome back to the Mystery of Gematria. This is the third session, 3 out of 3, and we are going to explore the holidays. Tonight, we take a trot around the Jewish calendar, not around the globe, but around the calendar to look at the greatest hits of Gematria for all the Yom Tovim, for all the holidays and special days on the calendar. When I say all, I mean most of all, because we are going to cover tonight the month of Elul, which is the preparation for the holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hanukkah, and then I cheated. I realized when I was preparing this class that I had so many good holiday gematriot, numerology, and it was getting more and more elaborate. I was like finding incredible sources. And then I'm like, we got to get Passover. We got to get Pesach, and Pesach is coming. So I got that, and then I had to leave out. I feel terrible. I left out Purim. But I couldn't because it was getting too long. I'm like, I'm hoping halavai we cover all this. And then I want to end also with some Shabbat Gematria, because even before Pesach, this Shabbat, this weekend, we have Shabbat. So we're going to explore Elul, Tishrei, Hanukkah, Pesach, and Shabbat Gematriot. And I know without a doubt, you guys are going to love this because I love it and we love each other. So of course you're going to love it. All right, here we go. Without further ado, let us all begin. I just want to recap quickly. You all have the booklets in front of you. You have the digital version. I'll pull it up as well. When it comes to Gematria, we explored no less than 6 different formulations of Gematria counting. And just to recap them, because I think they are important to recap, so I'm going to put it up on the screen here as well. 6 methods of Gematria. You guys have it there on page 3 in the booklets. There's Mispar Achrechi, which is the absolute normative value. And again, that is where Aleph through Yud are 1 through 10, Chaf through Kuf are 20 through 100, and then Reish through Taf are 200 through 400. It's basically 1 through 400. That's the first option, and that's the one that's reflected on page 2 in the Gematria chart. By and large, when you encounter a Gematria, that is the system that will be used, unless it's not. There you go. Then we talked about Mispar Siduri. Mispar Siduri was that sneaky version where it's just 1 through 22. That's it. No fancy, no skipping. You have 22 letters, you have 22 numbers. That is it. Hey, Yaakov. All right. Then you have the third formula was Mispar Katan, reduced value. And that is, as you recall, Mispar Katan is where you take the number, the Gematria, in the normal way. Mispar Katan is where you take
reduce it to single.
Reduce the single digit. You take out the zeros. Yes. Mispar Katan is
plus. You just plus the numbers all the time.
No, that's Mispar Katan Mispari. That's where you add the numbers together. Mispar Katan is where you just remove the zero. So Chaf is not 20, it's 2. Kuf is not 100, it's 1. You just keep the first digit, as it were. You drop the zeros. Mispar Katan Mispari. All right, here we go. Integral reduced value.com. Mispar Katan Mispari, that's where you start adding the numbers together. You do the normal Gematria, and then you add the digits together again and again if needed until you get to a single digit. Milui method, number 5, is where you look at how you spell the spelling of the letters themselves. If you have the letter Aleph, it's not just 1. Aleph is 111. Aleph plus Lamed plus Fei equals 111. In other words, you are looking at the way the letters, not just the words, the letters are spelled as they are pronounced. Good evening. Now, final option, 6th option is called the Tsura method. Tsura literally means shape. Tsura method means the shape of the letter, like Aleph, for example. Always reverting to Aleph in our examples. Aleph is comprised 2 Yuds and a Vav, 26. So that's the Tsura method. So all of this is just by way of just kind of, I don't know, we're stretching. We're doing some Gematria stretches, right? Rolling our shoulders, right? Rowing our boats gently down the stream, doing little stretches and flexors as we get into tonight's Kabbalah. We will be using typically method number 1, but as you'll see tonight, we'll also throw in some of the other methodologies. Let's go. And the point of tonight's session is to look through the holidays and to find additional meaning and inspiration. And maybe you'll remember, keep this handout, keep the PDF, whatever it is. When you come to a holiday, you can open it back up and you can enjoy the teachings. We're going to start with El. And even though the new year begins, the new calendar year begins in the month of Tishrei, El is actually the 12th month, the last month of the Jewish year. Nonetheless, we view the month of El as a preparation, time of preparation for the high holiday season. So the month of Elul has 30 days or so, 29 days, 30 days. And yet, we do have the sense that Elul is really 40 days. Good to see you. Why 40 days? It's 40 days if you include between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You have a whole 40-day span of high holiday energy, including the preparation, including the lead up. Good to see you. So here we go. You got that? All right. And the 40 days of this introspection and spiritual preparation and spiritual realignment corresponds to the 40 days that Moses went up the mountain to receive the Torah. Right? It says that Moses went up the mountain, Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, for 40 days and 40 nights. We got the Torah. These 40 days are reimagined, reenacted in our Elul Tishrei experience from Rosh Chodesh, from the first day of Elul through Yom Kippur. We have 40 days, and that mirrors that experience. Now, if you look at the numerology of the month of Elul, just to break it down, Aleph is, of course, 1, using the normative system. Lamed is 30, good. Vav is 6. And Lamed is 30. So 30, 30, so that's 60. 6 plus 1 is 7, 67. The word that corresponds to that, the word and concept, is Bina. Bina is also 67. What is Bina? Bina means understanding. Bina means contemplation. Bina is also related to introspection. And the idea is that in Elul, we think about, we're mitbonein, we are contemplative. Right? Is that a good word, contemplative? Lihitbonein, meditative, contemplative, thoughtful. We're thinking about what it is that we can do to redirect our life, correct things that need correction, and otherwise, in general, just get into an alignment with our purpose, with God, and our relationships with others as well, etc. So that is all the El Bina relationship. But let's keep on going. We have a lot to cover tonight. Now, there's another interesting aspect of the month of Elul, and before we do this, I would like to share with you a piece of a discourse, of a mimer, a discourse penned by the founder of Chabad, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. So the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, addresses a question. We know in the good books, it says that during the month of Elul, the 13 attributes of divine mercy shine. Shining the 13 attributes of God's mercy. And it's, in a similar way, it shines during a Yom Tov, a holiday. So you ask the question, if the whole month has this energy, by the way, we do have some pastries and whatnot, brownies over there for anyone that would like some food. It's a little bit off to the side. So anyway, back to the story. The Alter Rebbe asks, if the 13 attributes of mercy are shining in this month, why isn't the whole month a Yom Tov? Can you imagine a whole month of Yom Tov? Take off from work a whole month. But he asked the question, why not? Why don't we refrain from mundane activity the whole month if this energy is shining? And he employs, for the answer, he employs an incredible parable, which I believe most of us have heard, if not all of us. He employs the parable of the king in the field. Have you ever heard this one? How in Elul, the king is in the field. All of this comes from the Alter Rebbe answering the question, why isn't it a Yom Tov? If the 13 attributes of divine mercy are shining, and that's usually associated with a holiday, so why aren't these days, all of them, the whole month, why isn't it a holiday? And he says, because when it comes to the king, there's 2 states of the king. There's the king in the palace and the king in the field when he's traveling on vacation or coming home from battle and going through the countryside. When the king's in the palace, it's very formal, pomp and circumstance. You got to show up, you got to dress, you got to put on nice clothes, you got to make an appointment. You got to follow the protocol. That's when the king's in the palace. When the king's traveling through the countryside, the king's in the field, guess what? Come in your farm clothes. Come in your overalls. AK overalls. Come in your overalls. Come as you are. With, the farmers have those, the little wheat. You know what I'm talking about? Like the wheat in their teeth. Come with the wheat in your teeth. Come, meet the king, show up. It's not a holiday, but it's a special opportunity to meet the king. So the author explains that, yes, the 13 attributes of divine mercy are shining in this month of El, but it's not a holiday. You don't have to, you don't have to abstain from work. It's not a Yom Tiv yet. It will be soon. The king's in the field. Come Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, the king's now in the palace, right? Jason, I'm sure I'm telling you things you haven't heard ever in your life. Right? I'm kidding. Right? So what's El? El is, it's the 13, it's the king, but he's in the field. 13 attributes of mercy. This is where it gets crazy with the numerology. Back to the numerology. That's all the background for what I'm about to share with you next. And you can see it. 13 attributes of mercy. Take the word El and Mispar Katan Mispari. Remember, what you do with the Mispar Katan Mispari is that you add all the digits together until you get to another number. So Elul is 67, as we have already gone through. 6 plus 7 is 13. Now, yes, you could add that 1 and the 3 and get 4. But if we stop right here at 13, that obviously corresponds to the 13 attributes of mercy. Once again, hinting that in the month of El is when these attributes of mercy are shining throughout the month. Now, one other significant element about 13. 13 is also the numerology in the Gematria of the Hebrew word ahava, which means tzugazot, which means love. Ahava is love. So again, El is 67, right? I'm now under the caption called Feel the Love. So El is 67, that's been well established. 6 plus 7 is 13, that's also well established in every community, including the mathematic community. 13 is the numerology of the word ahava. Let's go through it. Aleph is 1, Hey is 5, Bet is 2, and Hey once again is 5. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 2 plus 1 is 13. Ava, love, is 13, and thus, El also reminds us that why is the king in the field? Why is God in the field? To meet us where we are. He could wait in the palace, say, hey, you got to come to me. You got to come to me. Are you ready to come to me? Did you make an appointment? But he takes the initiative. God makes the move, makes the first move. It's always hardest to make the first move. In any relationship, it's always the hardest to make the first move, whether it's to say I love you, or to say I'm sorry, or to say whatever it is, it's always the hardest. The one going first is always the hardest. So here God is making the move. God says, you know what? I'll come to you. Right? This Pesach, we're coming to you. Kidding, it's El. Right? This El, I'll be by you guys in the field, wherever you are, I'm going to visit. All right, that's the love, that's the 13. Let's go to the next one, praying for life. Elul, listen to this. Elul is, the numerology is 67. The word Chaim, life. Chaim is life. The numerology of Chaim is, let's do it together. I know I have the number here. You have the answer, but let's just do the process. Ches is 8. Yud is 10. Yud is 10, and Mem is 40. 40 plus 10 plus 10 is 60. Plus 8 is 68. And so El and Chaim are so close. It's one away. You know what it really means? When you have El, the work, the inner work of El, coupled with God, the one God, boom, you have Chaim. What is the key to a year filled with life? Because remember, on the high holidays, what do we ask for? Zochreinu l'chaim, melech havetz b'chaim. We ask for life, life. And how do we earn life? How do we merit life? It's through the work of El, which is all about Hashem. 67 plus 1 is 68, which is life. Now, that's all El. Any questions? Good.
In
Yeah.
Katan Mispari, aren't you supposed to get one number in there? Is the
Yes. Yes.
So you stop at this.
But for tonight only, we stopped at 2 digits. Just because it leads us to that 13. Could reduce it to 4, but then I don't know, what's that going to respond to? 4 sons? Got nothing now. I'm kidding. So we got 13. All right, now we're going to go on to Rosh Hashanah foods. And this is something that I think some of you know, but it's worth repeating because it is Gematria. So when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, there are definitely foods that are customary. I'm sorry. Here we go. Yeah, there are definitely foods that are customary to eat on Rosh Hashanah. So let's just go through it. What are some foods that come to mind customary to eat on Rosh Hashanah? What do we eat?
Pomegranate.
Pomegranates.
Apple.
Apples, good. Honey?
Eggs.
Figs?
Eggs.
Eggs on Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of Passover. Sorry.
Yeah. Rosh Hashanah. What are we eating? I'm thinking, like, how did I miss that all these years?
Fish heads.
Fish heads. Good. There we go. What else? Some people, yeah. Oh, yeah. Some people eat a ram's head. It's just because you want to round challah, you want to have a year that's a head and not a tail.
Round
It's
challah.
Round challah, yeah, round challah. I've been stared at by fish heads more than I like to admit. It's a little bit. It's like, are you looking at me? Wherever you look at, like it's falling.
Is the goldfish word?
It's
The goldfish word? No. Yeah,
You mean the little crackers, the goldfish? Yeah.
That's for the kids.
And
Each kid has a goldfish head.
gets a goldfish, exactly. Not an actual goldfish, not actually Nemo.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, not on my table. Anyway, so there are many foods that are customary to eat. Some eat simus, right? Carrots, sweet carrots. What else? Leeks. Some people eat leeks.
Persian.
Yeah.
Some people have like 10 different things that they do.
Yeah. Simanim. You have the simanim, the special simanim.
There's carrots, they do.
Yeah, carrots, because it's
Because
yeah, it's all- yeah. So here we go. So here's the interesting thing. There are certain things though that we don't eat. Just as there are things that we do eat, on Rosh Hashanah, there are things that we avoid eating. And one of the things we avoid eating on Rosh Hashanah, and I have it here on the handout, one of the things we avoid eating is egoism. Egozim. What are egozim or egos? Nuts. We don't eat nuts. And I know what you're thinking. You nuts? No, we don't eat nuts. All right. It didn't work as well as I thought in my head. Anyway, we don't eat nuts on Rosh Hashanah. What's the reason? There are two reasons that are given. Number one, this is what it says. Say it again? Oh, 1 second. Oh, so that's the second one. That's the numerology. But before we, number one, nuts. Say it again?
That connection.
It's yes.
I mean, it spells now.
It's yes. Correct. One is though that it creates phlegm or whatever it is in the throat. So it's not good. We want to be able to daven and not be like dealing with maybe like pieces of nuts. We don't want to deal with that stuff. So you don't eat nuts. But there's another reason based on Gematria. The word egos, the Gematria of egos, Aleph is 1, Gimel is 3, Vav is 6, Zayin is 7. That equals 17. And wouldn't you know it, the word chet in Hebrew, chet means sin, also equals 17. Now the disclaimer here is, chet is usually spelled with an aleph at the end, which would equal 18. And 18 is life, chai. However, there are many times in scripture where chet is written without an aleph. And in this source, which I forget where, I don't recall, I pulled from a lot of different sources for this, but in the original source where this numerology connection is made, there indeed chet is written without an aleph, and the source is from, I think, a Talmud Yerushalmi, a Jerusalem Talmud, which also has it there without an aleph. Either way, egos and chet are numerologically linked to 17, and thus, that's one of the reasons why we avoid eating it. We do not want to elicit or recall or remind or allude to any types of sin. In Rosh Hashanah, we want to say, sin. I don't know what you're talking about. Shin. Sure, it's a letter. It's a great letter. Sin. No idea. All right. Now, let's talk about Yom Kippur. We talked about Elul. We talked about Rosh Hashanah. Now let's talk about Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is, of course, the holiest day of the year. We call it the Day of Atonement. It's the Day of Atonement because it's the day historically, just to give a little historical context, historically Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses came down the mountain for the third and final time on Yom Kippur with a second set of tablets, having secured the full forgiveness after the sin of the golden calf. So, the Jews had sinned with the golden calf, and that was a really bad thing. It was a really bad sin. Moses went to advocate. He was the first Jewish lawyer, absolutely the defense lawyer. He went up. He advocated. He got God to forgive. He even got a replacement tablets. Right? They were under warranty. It was a 45-day warranty. It broke in 40 days. Unbelievable. Anyway, so Moses comes down the mountain. Finally, with the second set of tablets on Yom Kippur, that becomes the day in which it's possible to fix any relationship, anything that's broken. That's the day to fix it. So that being said, there's a lot of course, it's the holiest day of the year. It's a very special day, etc. There's a beautiful numerology here that I want to share with you. Take a look at the sheets. All right. The Hebrew word hasatan, kind of looks like a final chaf, but not exactly. Hasatan, which means Satan, the Satan, i.e., Satan, which, by the way, is a Jewish concept. It's been co-opted. They co-opted it and ran with it. But the original concept, it's a Jewish concept. Hasatan, the numerology, let's do it together. Hey is 5. Shin is 300. So we have 305 so far. Tes is 9. So what is that? 314. Plus Nun is 50. 314 plus 50 is 364. Hasatan is 364. How many days are there in the year? 365. 354 in the lunar calendar, but for right now, solar eclipse, we're still in that space. And 365, days of at least the solar year. And so there's an illusion. And again, this is brought down in a lot of good books, like old school books, Jewish books, commentaries, etc., that the implication is that Satan works 364 days a year.
There's for one day.
There's one day in which Satan is not working, and that also means within us. We don't have the Yetzer Hara. The evil inclination is not doing its thing. It's not burning up within us. One day a year is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, we have the ability to be spiritual, not worry about the other stuff. Now, once the fast ends, you're on your own. Good luck, because it comes back with a vengeance. Now it's like, all right, I took a day off. What did I miss? All right, who's up first? Let's go, says the Satan. All right, but one day a year, it's off. That is the idea. That's the numerology of Yom Kippur that I wanted to share. Now, we're moving on to Sukkot. Okay, we're moving rapidly through the calendar. Sukkot, there's one numerology that I want to share with you, and that is schach. What is schach? Schach is the foliage that you put on top of your sukkah. It's got to be from an organic natural substance, something that once grew from the ground but no longer grows because it's been cut. We call that schach. How do you spell? First of all, it's great to clear the throat from all the nuts that you didn't eat on Rosh Hashanah. Anyway, schach, right, is comprised of 3 letters: samach, which is 60, chaf, which is 20, and chaf, which is again final chaf, right, which is 20 again. 60 plus 20 plus 20 is 100. Boom. What's the numerology with 100? So it says again in the good books, this is old school classic gematria, classic teachings. It says that the numerology, the gematria of schach, which is 100, corresponds to the 100 shofar blasts that we hear on Rosh Hashanah. There's a connection between Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the month of Tishrei, and the last holiday, in other words, the end of the month, which is Sukkot, when we have the schach, 100 sounds. When you go to shul on Rosh Hashanah, and you hear the shofar sound, and you hear 100 individual sounds. I mean, it sounds like it's just random sounds, but it's not. Everything is organized. There's exactly 100 sounds that fulfills the mitzvah. And in correspondence to those 100 sounds, we have the schach, which equals 100. I'm going to tell you the conceptual connection soon, but let's just go through this. In fact, more than just 100, the actual division of the different sounds is also mirrored in the gematria schach. Samach, as I said, is 60, chaf is 20, and chaf is 20 again. Well, wouldn't you know it? There are tkiot, shvarim, and truot when you sound the shofar. The tkiah is the long blast, shvarim are the 3 short blasts, and the truot are the 9 really short blasts. Well, in total, you have 60 rounds of tkiot, 20 of shvarim, and 20 of truot, which equal 100, but it's exactly schach. Samach, chaf, chaf, 60, 20, 20. What's the connection between Rosh Hashanah, shofar blast, and the schach? I think there's a beautiful connection. The Rosh Hashanah is a very holy day. Kippur, right? It's a holy day. It's a high holiday, etc. Everyone's holy, especially at the time of the shofar sound. Wow, it's such reverence. I remember my mother's here as well, so she knows more about this than me. She had the opportunity to experience this more than I did growing up in Pittsburgh. So my grandfather, may he rest in peace, righteous memory. So my grandfather, he was the shofar blower, the official shofar blower of the shul. He blew the shofar. He must have blown how many years? 70 years, 65 years. He blew the shofar for decades and decades. He still have never heard anyone blow the shofar quite like him. Unbelievable. I would always go over to him afterwards and say, you know what, you really blew it. I'm kidding. I would never say
People still say that there's nobody who blew like Zaidi.
That's it. Who can blow the shofar like?
No,
He was unbelievable.
nobody.
And I remember just as a kid, the time, it was just so awe-inspiring. And so, it was, and it always is, whoever's blowing the shofar at that time, Rosh Hashanah, it's very awe-inspiring. And then you have Sukkot. And what is Sukkot? You build a hut outside. And what do you do inside of it? I don't know. You eat, you drink, fabrang, you be merry, you enjoy family and friends. It's outside. And so it's brought down to the books. What's the correlation between 100 and 100? The 100 shofar blast and the 100 Gematria, the numerology of Schach. It's that the whole message is to bring the holiness of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as well, to bring that holiness into your sukkah, which means into your ordinary life, into your pedestrian life, as it were. Although the sukkah is a mitzvah, but where is it done? It's done outside. It's done outside in your backyard, front lawn, wherever. It's done in a more casual form, informal setting, as opposed to inside a synagogue. So it's one thing to have the 100 shofar blast, awe-inspiring, reverential blast inside the synagogue. It's another thing to have the 100 energies in your portable hut. And that's what it means to take the energies of the reverential energies, bring them into your life down to wherever you are. It also says, by the way, that there's a Yom Kippur allusion. This is not numerology, that's why it's not on the sheet, but there's a Yom Kippur allusion to the Schach as well. When the high priest would walk into the Holy of Holies and he would offer the incense once a year, he would offer the incense in the Holy of Holies. He would put down a pan. There was like a shovel that had hot coals. And then he would sprinkle on top the special blend of incense. It would create a smoke, and the smoke would rise and fill the Holy of Holies. Because that's that layer of clouds of smoke is symbolized in the schach that we put up, on our sukkot. So again, you have the energies of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur in your sukkah. The idea is to bring it into the everyday life, as it were. All right, let's go back into the handout, and now we're moving on to Hanukkah, Festival of Lights. So again, just to recap, we did Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and we're right on time. Perfect. Now we're up to Hanukkah. I have a bunch for Hanukkah, even though it's not Hanukkah right now, but nonetheless, this is getting you ready for next Hanukkah, and also to be inspired from this past Hanukkah. So Hanukkah is spelled like this in English. It's funny, I was speaking to somebody today, and we were talking about how you write Hebrew words in English. And in our conversation, we both came to the conclusion that there's no right way to write Hebrew in English, different language. It's like, how do you spell Hanukkah?
Just 5, 8, 10.
However you want. It doesn't actually matter because the word doesn't exist in English. It's a Hebrew word. So how do you write it? Write however you want. Knock yourself out.
And what's with the 2 Ks?
Yeah, 2 Ks. You can do Chanukah with 2 O's. I don't know. You can whatever.
Start with an H.
Start with an H. Right. Yeah, how do you spell Chabad? However you want. Shabbat. All right. So, but let's go to the Hebrew. With that being said, let's go to the Hebrew Chanukah. So under the English, you have the Hebrew letters for Chanukah. And again, this is a classic teaching. Chanukah, if you divide into 2 words, Chanu, Chafei. Chanu means they rested, and Chafei is 25. So what is the message? Chanu Chafei means they rested. The Maccabees fought against the Greeks. They won the war, and then they rested on which day? The 25th day of Kislev. And that's the day in which the holiday starts. We have an 8-day holiday. We commemorate the holiday on the first day after the war. Chanukah Vei. They won. They rested. Now let's party and eat latkes till we drop. Okay, so that's a little numerology because Chafei is 25, and that's the 25th day of the month of Kislev. What's interesting is, and now we're using a different, I don't know if it's a method, but it's another interesting twist. If you start from the beginning of Torah and count 25 words, what word do you think is the 25th word from the beginning? Let's do it together. That's why I put it here. Bereshit, bara Elokim, that's 3. Eit hashamayim ve'eit haaretz, that's 7. I'm going to lose track now. Ba'aretz, 8. Haita, 9. Tohu, 10. Uvo, 11. B'choshech, 12. Al, 13. Pnei, 14. Tehom, 15. Beruach, 16. Elokim, 17. Merachefet, 18. Al, 19. Pnei, 20. Hamoyim, 21. Vayomer, 22. Elokim, 23. Yehi, 24. Ar, 25. The 25th word of the Torah is Ar. Ar means light. Unbelievable. Chanukah is on the 25th day of Kislev. 25. Chanukah Fei, festival, literally, the festival of lights. And the 25th word of Torah is Ar, light. But it gets even cooler. What's the word right before Ar? Yehi, which means let there be. Look at the numerology of Yehi. The word Yehi, God said, Vayomer God said, Yehi Ar, let there be light. So first of all, the first time light is mentioned in Torah is the 25th word. But what's right before that? Yehi, let there be. What's the Gematria of Yehi? Yud is 10, Hey is 5, Yud is 10. Guess what? 25. Yehi is 25. Ar is the 25th word. Yehi Ar is 25, 25. I'm not adding them together. I'm just saying 25s are wild. It's 25. Kislev, 25th of Kislev, Chanukah, Festival of Lights. It's all about Yehi Ar, let there be light. And it's not just God saying, wow, I wish it were light in here, like as if he's hinting for someone, turn the lights on Shabbat because you can't do it. It's like, oh, it would be so nice if there was light. No, Yehi Ar means, y'all, let there be light. In other words, sometimes we look around, the world's so dark. God, the world's so dark. You know what God says? Yehi Ar, baby, make it light. If you notice the problem, fix it. God does not have a hotline for you to let him know what the problems are. He knows the problems. Trust me, he knows the problems before we know the problems. We are meant to be problem solvers. We're part of the solution, not the problem. Yehi Ar, God says to us, make it light, make it shine. Festival of Lights. Now, let's delve back into Gematria of Chanukah. Here we go. We're going to do now Mispar Katan. Okay, let's do a little Mispar Katan. Remember what Mispar Katan is? You lob off the zeros. Ches is 8. Nun is 50, but if you take off the 0, now it's 5. Vav is 6. Chaf is 20, but that's 2. And Hey is 5. 8 plus 5, I put it here on the sheet, plus 6, plus 5, plus 2, plus 2 plus 5 equals 26. Not 25, 26. Chanukah Mispar Katan is 26. However, 26 is also a good number. Why? Because 26 is the numerology of Yud Kei Vav Kei, of God's name, 4-letter name. And that means, again, that Chanukah is a festival of lights. And what light are we talking about here? Not actually physical lights and not, Friday night lights. I mean, like, high school football. But I mean really is, right? What kind of light are we talking about? Yehi Ar, let there be light. Divine light. Yud Kei Vav Kei, God's light. The light of Torah, mitzvot, goodness, right? The light of morality, the light of spirituality. Let's continue with more Chanukah messages. The blessing that we say when we light the menorah, we say a few blessings, but the main one is Lahadlik Ner Chanukah. Now, I know there's a version that says Lahadlik Ner Shel Chanukah, but Chabad version is we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe. Asher Kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, who gave us, sanctified us with the mitzvah and gave us the mitzvah. Lahadlik Ner Chanukah, to kindle the Chanukah lights. Lahadlik Ner Chanukah. Now, let's look at the numerology here. You ready? Numerology. Again, it's in Hebrew. Lahadlik Ner Chanukah, that is the way the blessing is written out in Hebrew. If you take, now, I don't think we talked about this yet. Okay, new methods happening. Sometimes you take the Rashi Tevot, the first letters of the words, and then you do that gematria or something else with that. So Lahadlik Ner Chanukah, it's like the acronym, is Lamed for Lahadlik, Nun for Ner, and Ches for Chanukah. That's why in the next line down, I put the Lamed Nun Ches. You see that? Lahadlik Ner Chanukah. And if you take the Mispar Katan again, take the Mispar Katan. Lamed is 30, which is 3. Nun is 50, which is 5. And Ches is 8, which is 8. 853, right? But it's actually, sorry, from right to left, it's 358. Okay, 358. Now, again, this is a little bit of an interesting way of doing Mispar Katan because we're not adding the numbers together. So we're just taking 3, 5, and 8 and just putting the 358. 358 equals Mashiach. The gematria of 358 is Mashiach. Mashiach is Messiah. The idea here is that when we light the Hanukkah menorah, it symbolizes the light, the true light, the ultimate light, which is a healed world, a better world. We are not, we're not aiming for small, we'll take small victories, but really the end game of the light that we create in the world is that the world should be so suffused with light that there's no place for darkness to hide. There's no place for negativity. A world that is perfected is literally Mashiach. That, like, everyone's like, oh, I would love, what's your dream for the world? World peace. Hey, we also want that. We call it Mashiach. You don't have to call it Mashiach. Call it world peace. Call it happiness. Call it, a world healed of all pain, of all loss, of all suffering. No illness, no death, right? Maybe you'll call this scientific discovery, whatever you want to call it. Mashiach is world that is perfected. And that is Lahadlik Ner Chanukah. Chanukah is connected with that. It's all about bringing the light. Now, Lahadlik Ner Chanukah, the same acronym, right? Lamed Nun Ches. If you switch around those letters, it spells the word Nachal. You see that in the next line down, the next section, Nachal. Lahadlik Ner Chanukah, again, if you switch around the acronym, it spell the word Nachal. What does Nachal mean? Nachal means a river. Good, a river. What's a river? A river means expansion. You have a small, like a bubbling brook. What is this? Beverly Hillbillies. Remember that? Saw some bubbling.
Up from the ground,
Yeah, bubbling crude. Oh, crude. Oil, that is.
Black gold, Texas State.
Texas, yeah. All right. Bum 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 bum. All right, Nachal. Nachal is river. Nachal is expansion. It's not just the bubbling crude. It's a whole river of crude, right? It's a lot of expansion. The idea is to bring Hanukkah and expand the light, not just keep the light to ourselves, expand the light. That's 88. When you add the fact that it's God's light, again, you're adding 1 is 89. Hanukkah, the gematria of Hanukkah is 89. 89 is also the numerology of the word guf, which means the body. The idea is that the light is not only for the soul, it's also for the body. It spreads everywhere. Another numerology of Hanukkah, just very quickly, is that Hanukkah is, again, 89. 89 in the standard version of Hanukkah. Ches is 8, Nun is 50, Vav is 6, Chaf is 20, Hey is 5. All of that equals up to 89. If you take the Mispar Katan Mispari, and you add the two numbers together, 8 plus 9 equals 17. Again, we're not reducing it down to one digit. I apologize, but we're stopping at 2. 17. 17 is the same numerology as the word Tov. Tov means good, and it means that Hanukkah, of course, is associated with goodness and blessings. And guess what? Throughout the duration of Hanukkah, how many blessings do you say? If you light the menorah every night, you will have recited 17 blessings throughout the holiday. How does that work? Every night you recite 2 blessings, right? Lahadlik Ner Chanukah and Sha'asa Nisim Lavotenu. There's 2 brachot. Times 8 is 16, plus the first night you add the Shechianu, and then you get 17. 17 blessings throughout Hanukkah. 17 is Tov. 17 is also the Mispar Katan Mispari of Hanukkah. You can't get any Tov better than that. But wait, there's more. Look at the word Ner. Ner means candle. Right on Hanukkah, we light Nerot. Candle is plural, but the singular is Ner. Let's talk about Ner for a second. Ner is comprised. Oh, this is very cool. Yeah. Let's do the Miloi. I told you we're going to use a lot of methods tonight. The Miloi method is, remember, you don't just take the letter, but you spell out the letter. So again, the word Ner, candle, is spelled Nun Resh. But nun is spelled out, nun vav nun. Resh is spelled out, resh yud shin. Again, if you transliterate the pronunciation, nun, resh, it's more than one letter. Everyone has 3 letters. So the numerology of the miloi, of the letters that you don't write typically, but that you pronounce. So nun equals 106 because nun vav nun, 50, 50, and 6 is 106. Resh is 200 plus 10 plus 300 is 510. So 106 and 510. What if you add nun and resh together? What if we were so reckless as to add the 2 together? Nun and resh, the miloi. 106 plus 510 equals 616. What does 616 equal? HaTorah. The word HaTorah, the Torah, again, is 616. 5 plus 400 plus 6 plus 200 plus 5 equals 616. And thus, we have an incredible illusion in the word ner, and that is that the true light, the true candle, the true flame is the flame of Torah. That's the true light that illuminates our lives, etc., is the meanings, the values, the guidance of God as found in HaTorah, is found in the Torah. Okay, we're going to do a few more. 36 candles. Okay, how to get 36? I even wrote it out. I was so kind as to even write it out. On the first night, if you add together all the candles that you light on Hanukkah, the first night is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you ever need to know how many candles you need for Hanukkah, not including the shamash, just the actual mitzvah candles, 36 for Hanukkah. What's the numerology? What's the significance of 36? So number one, there's 2 points that I want to make. Number one is there's something called the Ar Haganos. The Ar Haganos means the hidden light. There was a special spiritual light that God had prepared for Adam and Eve, and it only shone in the world for 36 hours, Friday morning to Saturday night, because once they sinned and Shabbat was over, it was over. The Ar Haganos is called the light that's hidden. It's called hidden light because after that Shabbat, the first Shabbat in history, God hid that light. So 36 hours, that original light. Again, it's about evoking that original light. When we light the menorah, we're trying to channel that original light back into the world, which will happen when Mashiach comes. And finally, the last point of 36 is that it's the same numerology as the word ayeka, which means, ayeka. Ayeka means where are you? It's when God called Adam after, in the Garden of Eden, after the sin of the first sin of Adam and Eve. So God says to Adam, Ayeka, where are you? He says, I'm here. So I'm hiding amongst the. Why are you hiding? Because I'm naked. Who told you you're naked? Did you eat from the tree? Oh, it's not my fault. She gave it to me. Hey, not my fault. You created her. She gave. Talk about lack of gratitude. God creates the greatest gift for Adam, right? A spouse, and he throws her under the bus the first minute. It's her fault.
It's not even a bus yet, and he throws her.
There's no, the bus is even created. He started throwing her under the bus. Unbelievable. Ayeka is 36, and that
Ari, is it also Echa?
Could also be Echa, yeah. It's the same spelling. But here it's brought. This is all brought in the books. Ayeka is God's call to Adam. Ayeka, where are you? In other words, remember, Adam and Eve are the ones that through their sin, they got rid of this spiritual light of that shone for 36 hours. And God's call to Adam and Eve and to all of us is, Ayeka, where are you? Bring back the light, 36. And we do that with the 36 candles that we light on Hanukkah. Now, let's continue.
No, my point was that Echa is the beginning of the morning.
Right. Yeah, Lamentations. That's hilarious.
On Tisha B'Av.
In the comments that in Barcelona, has anyone been to Spain? You guys been to Spain? So they spell Chabad Jabad. Jabad. Talk about transliterations. Your mileage may vary when it comes to writing something in another language. It's still Chabad.
No, J is H. It's pronounced H.
All right, but it's still not CH. So 44 candles. Let's talk about 44 for a second. The number 44 is also significant. In fact, if you ever see those boxes of candles, the twisted candles, it will say 44. Why 44? Because you need a shamash. 36 is if you don't include the shamash. It's the mitzvah candles are 36. But if you're being practical, then each night you're not going to light just one candle, you're like two. So it's now starts not from 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You add those together, it's 44. And Hanukkah in Mispar Siduri is 44. Mispar Siduri is the is where you count the 1 through 22. So 1 through 22. So Ches is the 8th letter, Nun is the 14th letter, Vav is the 6th letter, Chaf is the 11th letter, He is the 5th letter, 8 plus 14 plus 6 plus 11 plus 5 is 44, and that is amazing. The Mispar Siduri. I don't think I gave an example last week of that. I think we taught it, and we said there are examples, but we didn't bring an example. And boom, right now we have an example. All right, Dam is also 44. Dam means blood. The idea here is that Hanukkah is about transforming even the matter into light, even the physical flesh and blood into something a little higher. I really want to go to Passover. I have a few more oil and dreidel. You know what? We're going to skip that. Let's move on to Passover. Okay, Pesach. I want to make sure we get Pesach in and do it justice. Pesach, we're going to talk about some numerology here with the word Pesach. Now, if you take the Hebrew spelling of the word Pesach, which I have right there in the Hebrew, normative value is Pei is 80, Samach is 60, and Ches is 8. So 80 plus 60 plus 8 is 148. So Pesach equals 148. Amazingly, and I think this is amazing. The number 148 is also equivalent to the Hebrew word Kemach. Kemach means flour. What's the big what's like? It's pretty much the only ingredient that in your matzah other than water, right? Kemach is flour. Flour is a big deal. Now, here's the thing: flour is not chametz. Flour and water is not chametz. What do you need to make a chametz? You need a leavening agent, yeast, sugar, eggs. I don't know. You need some sort of leavening. So you made the trip. See that?
Found the milk.
Look at that. So Pesach, we're down at the bottom of Pesach. Yeah. Pesach is 148. Kemach, flour is 148. And the message is that Pesach is all about Kemach, unleavened flour. It's about flour that's not risen, no ego. It's about humility, etc. What's chametz? Chametz is leaven, but chametz is actually, you think maybe would be a larger number. It's actually a smaller number. It's a smaller number than Pesach and Kemach. Chametz is actually 138. Ches is 8. Mem is 40. Tzadik is 90. So 90 plus 40 is 130 plus 8 is 138. So it's less than Pesach. It's less than Kemach. It's chametz. But chametz is big. Yeah. You know why it's big? Because it's small. Why does it inflate itself up? Because it's less. And how much less is it? 10. Where does ego come from? It's when you take out the 10 commandments. It's when you take out the 10 utterances of God. So when you take out the yud, you take out the yid, you take out the yud of Hashem's name, you take out the divine, right? Now you got chametz. You have a person, look at me. Look at me. Who are you? God created all this. Who are you? And you forget about God, then you're a big shot. You remember God, you stay humble. So matzah, again, we don't have matzah here with the numerology, but matzah would be likened to this along the lines of Kemach, Pesach, 148. Chametz, when you take away the 10, now you're in trouble. Let's do a little bit more. Let's do some more. I have 4 insights of Pesach. So that's insight number 1, the message of humility and the dangers of ego's hubris. The next lesson is light from night. Take a look at this. Haggadah. Haggadah is, of course, the book that we read from on Passover night. The normative, right, Mispar Mechrechi, the normative numerology is Hey is 5, Gimel is 3, Dalet is 4, Hey is 5. Add them all together, you get 17. What's 17? 17 is the exact age that Joseph was when he got sold by his brothers. In other words, what causes all the problems? What causes all the Egyptian exile can be traced to brothers that are fighting, brothers that are not getting along, Joseph being sold as a slave. So the night of the Haggadah, the night of the Seder, when we read from the Haggadah, let's remember Haggadah equals 17. Hopefully on Passover, we get together with family. When you get together with family, it's the antidote to the problem, right? The whole problem started. First of all, you got to remember this. What was the last thing they did in Egypt before they left? The last thing they did before they left.
They took Joseph's.
Okay, well, right before that, what did they do?
We got some trees out.
Also, all right, we have a lot of midrashim. But what did they do? What were they told by God to do? The night of the Exodus.
Eat matzah.
And
And put your
the Korban Pesach and the Paschal Lamb. With whom?
your family.
That's it. They were told to, first of all, stay at home. They were under lockdown, right? They were under lockdown, quarantine, paint the door red, stay at home,
Pandemic.
eat with your families, and have a meal together. It's the opposite. It's the tikkun. It's the repair for how they got to Egypt. They get out of Egypt by coming together as a family. They got into Egypt by breaking apart the family. When they sold their own brother, that started the mess. How do they heal it? Bring the family together. So again, 17 reminds us of the importance of family. We are family. All right, 17 is also the numerology of Tov. The idea here is that even though it was a negative to get into Egypt, ultimately, though, it leads to good as well. So there is Tov, there is light, even in the darkness of night, there is light. But we don't need to go into the darkness to get the light. We can try to figure it out otherwise. Now let's do another insight. So that's the second insight. So again, insight number one, I'm reminding you about the Pesach ones because it's coming up. So number one, Pesach, Kemach, humility, Chametz is when you take away the 10, take away God, and then it leads to problems. Ego. Light from night, Haggadah, Joseph, 17, power of family. Let's continue. Faith. The Arizal teaches, the Arizal was the famed Kabbalist of the 16th century. So the Arizal writes that when you get to the paragraph that begins with the words Vihi Sha'amda, Vihi Sha'amda, Vihi Sha'amda, Lavotenu Velanu, right? We say Vihi Sha'amda, Lavotenu Velanu. This is what has sustained us. God's promise that he'll take care of us has sustained us and our fathers. Not only one has stood up to try to wipe us out. Ella Shabachal Davadar. We say in every generation, they stand, current tense, present tense, they stand against us to try to wipe us out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu and God Almighty, Matzilinu Miyadam, saves us from their hands. That's like a very poignant part of the Seder. And the Arizal says, when you say that paragraph, Sarech Lagbiat Akos, you're supposed to raise your glass, your goblet of wine. So listen to this. Kos, the goblet, the cup. Kos, the numerology of Kos is 86. 86 is also the numerology of the word Hateva, which means nature. By now we know that, right? The nature. What's the message? The message is that nature, by all natural means, we should not be here anymore. After all of these attempts, after Pharaoh and crusades and Aradefas and persecutions and pogroms and expulsions and forced conversions and inquisitions and a Holocaust and everything. We should not, by all accounts, by nature, we should not be here. So the Rizal says, when you say V'hishamda, lift up the cup. Remind yourself that nature, there's something above nature. Lift up nature. God is above nature, and that's what we're channeling when we lift the cup. Now, you got that? So again, that's a numerological insight and inspiration into the V'hishamda. When you say that phrase, God protects us from all those that try, even currently, to destroy us. Lift that cup, go above nature, because certainly that's where our protection comes from. Next, oh my gosh. Okay, remember the 4 sons? Yeah? Remember what it says in the Haggadah about the wicked son? What do you do to the wicked son? You blunt his teeth. You blunt his teeth. Blunt, some say knock out. It's not really knock out, it's blunt his teeth, which is a very weird phrase. Like, what, we're supposed to get aggressive? Here you have somebody who's struggling with their Judaism, whatever it is, the Russia, the wicked son, and what you want to take a harsh approach. What's going on? There's a beautiful numerological insight. It's unbelievable. The Gematria, the numerology of Russia, which is the wicked one, the wicked son, is 570. 200 plus 300 is 500 plus Ayin is 70, 570. Tzaddik is 204. 90 plus 4 plus 10 plus 100. So Rosh is 570, Tzaddik is 204. What's the difference? What's 204? What's 570 minus 204? 366. In other words, what's the difference between a Rosh and a Tzaddik? 366. And 366 equals the word Shinav. What does Shinav mean? Hakeh et Shinav. Blunt his teeth. Shinav is teeth. And that's 366. What does that mean? If you can defang, I don't mean this literally. All y'all dentists don't take this literally. No extractions at the Seder. But if you can defang the Russia,
Turn him into a son.
that's it. In other words, work with this. It doesn't mean to go and start shouting at this guy. No, on the contrary, you're trying to de-escalate. If you can de-escalate, if you can take out the bite, you'll discover here you have somebody who may be wounded, somebody who may be scared, somebody who may have been traumatized, somebody who may be confused, somebody who may have questions, someone who may have never been given the opportunity to ask. And now you have the opportunity. If you take away the edge, take away the harshness, you realize 1 second, here you have a soul that's searching. Maybe you have a more sensitive soul than even the tzaddik. You with me on this? The one that you thought is a Rasha, Hakeh Shinav, take away the Shinav, the 366, and you realize this too is a tzaddik. Unbelievable insight. Righteous, I called it righteous potential, the righteous potential of the of this son. And so again, I want to just, in case you want to use this at your Seder, you want to roll out some numerology as a party trick, as a Seder insight. Number one, we have the first insight, Pesach and Kemach is 148. It's all about the flour that's flat, no leavening. Chametz, it's all puffed up. It's a lack of, it's 10, it's minus 10. It means that you don't have God, then you have to compensate by putting yourself as a God, and that's where things get complicated. Haggadah, Joseph 17, the power of family. Faith, Kos Teva, what keeps us going? Reminding us that nature is not in control. There's something above nature. Lift up that cup. God is above nature. And finally, righteous potential. When you take away the teeth, when you take away the bite from the Rasha, you realize he's making a lot of noise, but he's really a tzaddik. He's searching. He's wounded, perhaps, but he's searching. Meaning, come at him with love, not with aggression. And finally, I as I mentioned in the intro, I did want to do some Shabbat Gematriot, and I'll tell you where this comes from. At least the first 5. This comes from a rabbi who I think many of you know, I've heard the name of, the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon. He lived in the 1700s, early 1800s. He was Rabbi Eliyahu of Vilna. He was the greatest, one of the greatest Talmudic scholars of his time. He was also, as some of you may or may not know, some of you may know, some of you may not know, he was also a mystic, a Kabbalist. And he dabbled a lot in Gematria. He said something interesting. This comes from the Vilna Gaon. It's like legit. He says like this. When it comes to Shabbat, if you add up, take the normal Gematria and add up the numbers. Oh, this is Mispar Katan, Mispari, right? Normal stuff. You reduce it down to 1 digit, you will always equal 7. Shabbat is the 7th day of the week. So he says, he gives the first 5 examples. Nara is candle, right? Shabbat candles. It's 250. 2 plus 5 plus 0 is 7. Boom. 7, Shabbat, 7th day of the week. Yayin, wine. Yud, nun, 10, 50, 70. 7 plus 0, 7. Challah, right? Who doesn't love some challah? Challah back if you do, right? Challah, 8, 30 plus 5. So you have 43. 4 plus 3, 7. Dog, fish, right? Gefilte fish or other types of fish. Dog, oh, I don't know why I didn't put the number there. We're missing a number.
Well, 7.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You're right. I'm not missing a number. Right. Because it's 4 plus 3. Right. Correct. Right. You were not adding the numbers together. Right. 7. Correct. Basar. Flesh. Meat. Basar is 2 plus 300 plus 200. 502. 5 plus 0 plus 2. Again, is 7. These are the first 5 that the Vilna Gaon teaches. But as an added bonus, we're going to extend the teaching and bring you another. But wait, there's more. If you act now, you'll also get this set of Ginsu knives. Here we go. Shabbat Shalom. 300. Shin is 300, plus Bet is 2, plus Taf is 400. Plus 300, Shin again is 300, Lamed is 30, plus Vav is 6, Mem is 40. That equals 1,078. Fact check me later. 1,078. 1 plus 0 plus 7 is 8, plus 8 is 16, 1 plus 6 is 7. This is Mispar Katan, Mispari. Right, you reduce it down all the way down to one digit. Again, you equal 7, Shabbat. Geffen is vine. Why? Vine not. I'm kidding. Vine. Vine, right? That's where grapes come from. Vine, Geffen. Gimel is 3. Pei is 80. Nun is 50. That's 133. 1 plus 3 plus 3, you guessed it, is the magical number of 7. Chrein. Who doesn't like chrein? You know what chrein is? A little horseradish. Get some chrein on my brain. I was in Kroger recently, Friday, and I was shopping for some last minute items. There was a nice Jewish woman, nice older Jewish woman next to me, and she's like, hey, you know, Jews, we just love commiserating with each other. She's like, they only have the white grain. Where's the red grain?
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I agree with you. I don't know you, but I agree with you. As I said, we'll have a quick prayer service here in the aisle that maybe one day the red grain with beets will return. Anyway, grain.
It was, I would say red, but then the knob turned back.
Oh, there you go. There you go. It reverted.
Yeah.
So grain, Ches is 8, Reish is 200, Yod is 10, and Nun is 50. That equals 268. 2 plus 6 is 8, plus 8 is 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. Mispar Katan, Mispari. Marak is soup. Soup, 40. Mem is 40, plus Reish 200, plus Kuf is 100, 340. 3 plus 4 plus 0 is 7. Kishka. Oh, now we're taking liberties. Kishka.
More than 7.
Kishka is 100. Kuf is 100. Yod is 10. 3 is Shin is 300. So that's 410. Kuf is another 100. It's 510. Plus Aleph is 1, 511. 5 plus 1 plus 1 equals, you guessed it, 7.
But the
Chocolate
rating is higher than 7, right?
Yeah, it is. The calories are also more than 7. Cholent, we spelled it cholent a little bit like Yiddish would spell it. Cholent. So we may have had to massage it slightly. So we have cholent. So we have Tes is 9, Shin is 300, Ayin is 70, Lamed is 30, Ayin is 70, Nun is 50, Tes is 9, 538. 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 8 is 16. 16, 1 plus 7 is 7. And finally, sushi. Finally, is sushi.
Last two from AI.
It's on the Gemara, right?
Sushi, look, in recent years, sushi has become a favorite of everyone, including Jews, including sometimes on Shabbat as well. There's no problem with sushi and Shabbat. Well, if you spell out the word sushi in Hebrew, and I know it's not an original Hebrew word, but again, we're just running the numbers. So Samach is 60, Vav is 6. That's 66 plus 3 is Shin is 300. 366 plus Yod is 10 is 376. 3 plus 7 is 10, plus 6 is 16. 1 plus 6 is, you guessed it, 7. No matter where you turn, no matter where you look, if you add up the letters, if you just run the numbers when it comes to Shabbat, you will always equal the number 7. And if it doesn't, you just have to spell it a little bit differently and make it work. I wanted to end with that, just to end on a light note. With sushi, you can't go wrong with ending up on a note of sushi. But I did want to share my appreciation again with those that help contribute and sponsor and help make this course possible, as well as everyone who attended, both in person as well as on Zoom, online. Thank you all for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this exploration into numerology. And really what I hope sticks with you is, aside from the individual lessons and specific teachings, which I think are very important, is this overall notion that there's something magical about the Hebrew language. There's something magical about Torah, Lashon Kodesh. There's something really magical about this. And again, the sushi gematria aside, we're dealing with things that are sourced over many hundreds and thousands of years, and a language that includes so many secrets. It's like the human genome. It's like, genetic code. It's like the more you look, the more you find, and the more amazing secrets that there are. And so that is what I wanted to share with you. That's really the overarching goal, is perhaps a greater appreciation, a deeper appreciation of Torah, of Hebrew, Lashon Kodesh, the Holy Tongue, and to realize that sometimes there are a lot of secrets hiding beneath the surface. Just have to know where to look. And as I said, we're starting this new Parsha series on Tuesday nights, 7:30 after Pesach. Everyone's invited to join, whether it's in person or on Zoom, or you can mix and match, whatever, depending on the week. But either way, I will personally attempt to work in some balaturim, some numerology. I can't promise in every class, but in some of the classes, just to keep the gematria, to keep that alive and kicking. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining, and wishing you a Chag Kosher V'Sameach, which also equals 148. I'm kidding. I don't know if it does. Chag Kosher, it definitely doesn't. Sameach because the shin is 300. Chag Kosher V'Sameach, wishing you a happy and healthy and enjoyable Passover. And just remember, Pesach is about freedom and about liberation. So it shouldn't feel like a burden. That would be counterintuitive. Right? We should go into it with simcha, with joy. Yes, there are some preparations, a lot of preparations that need to happen, but as much as we can to do it with simcha, with joy, to have a liberating Pesach. And again, if you want to even get deeper into the spirit of Pesach, I highly encourage you. I'm telling you, this class, you don't want to miss this class. This is my personal guarantee on this one. This class will blow your mind. Next Wednesday, a week from tonight, 7:30 p.m., Stealing Freedom, the Kabbalah of the Afikoman. Join me next week. You'll find out why it's so special. Next Wednesday, I'm sorry, I may have misspoken. Next Wednesday, a week from tonight, 7:30 p.m. All right.
And you know what you get when you add up the number of students sitting around this table?
Same oil.
I see sushi everywhere.
You should do that.
It's unbelievable. All right. Chag Sameach. We'll see you guys. Chag Sameach. Bye, guys. Bye, Shemay. Good to see you,
Bye.
Mom.
Thank you.
Richard, Jules, Vlad, Faye, and Lisa, and Sandrine. Good to see you guys. Well, we missed Ray tonight. All right.
Ari, I have to ask you
Jill.
something.
Jill, first, did you leave your bag? Got you covered. Well, first we went through it, made sure there was nothing left, and then we.
You shouldn't keep your passwords written down.
We'll see you guys later.
I've got one for you.
Yes.
Gematria of Shabbat is 702.
Okay. Yeah.
The halacha would be there's 6 psalms before
Yes.
and 2 afterwards.
Right.
And the number of letters, number of words, in the 8 psalms is 702.
That's unbelievable. You heard that one?
What?
Wow.
What?
I'm gonna
Tell
say
me.
it if I can. I mean, you could say it, or I can recreate it. Well, it's either if I say it in the mic. So, Howard said that the gematria of Shabbat is 702. Right? Shin is 300, Taf is 400, and Bet in the middle, Shabbat. So 702. And there are
6 psalms.
6 psalms before the Lechadodi, and 2 after. And if you add up
the number of words, and there's 8 psalms at 702.
if you add up the number of words in the 8 psalms, not including Lechadodi,
No, just
if you count the words in those 8 psalms that come from Tillim, right? You add them together, 702 words. Wow.
I'll send it to you.
Love it.
Wow.
Net. I mean, it's no sushi, but it's still pretty. That's still pretty good. That's still pretty good. I'm gonna be counting the words.
You need a clicker for all that.
By the way, the next week, there's a poker tournament. We'll be counting cards. So get used to counting the words. Get fast. I'm kidding. We are not gonna gamble. I'm not gambling away my sushi money.
You get bigger attendance if you had a card count.
Yes. See you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was really
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a lovely Pesach.
Thank you. You too. All right. And farewell to everybody here online as well. It's been
Ari,
great.
I need to talk to you about something. So,
Call me.
yeah. Okay.
You know my number. See you. Lila Tov. Bye, Jules.